In this pre-Chapter 3 world, we find ourselves lost in a blizzard where our once abundant theorizing material has long been burnt up. We search for new kindling but often find nothing. While some can fan the flame by making theories out of theories out of theories, no one has made a theory out of source material since... well, I guess the newsletters weren't that long ago. Nevertheless, I think I've found something new. It's just a few twigs, and moist ones at that, but you may find that they burn surprisingly bright. So let us dig through the snow as I explain why Deltarune's weird root takes partial inspiration from a seemingly random Christmas song and what that can tell us about the future of Deltarune. My name is Chaco, and welcome to Winter Wonderland Theory. Last Christmas Eve, I had the song Winter Wonderland stuck in my head in the shower. I was humming through it when a certain lyric jump-scared me in my Deltarune-addled mind. Gone away is the bluebird. So, that's a little weird, right? In any other song I'd brush it off, but this is a Christmas song, and one that Toby Fox has almost certainly heard. At this point, I think it goes without saying why Christmas is important to Deltarune. There's a Christmas-themed character who has the ability to break video games, and thus can break the fabric of Deltarune's reality, this power of hers being the catalyst of the weird root, as well as being foreshadowed to be the angel from the prophecy and also Jesus? And her name is literally Noel Holiday, and that isn't even mentioning Des. Of any type of song from pop culture, besides You've Got a Friend in Me from Toy Story obviously, Christmas songs are at the top of my list for songs with the potential to be referenced in Deltarune. In fact, the only song with no personal relation to Deltarune or Toby Fox to not only have a reference, but an arrangement in Deltarune, is Jingle Bells, as heard in Holiday Studio. But I know that isn't enough to convince you, so let's dig a little deeper. For anyone unfamiliar, Winter Wonderland is actually more of a love song than it is a Christmas song. It's about two people in love enjoying winter together and dreaming of getting married. Take this verse for example, where they make up a character named Parson Brown. By the way, a parson is a member of the clergy, especially a Protestant one. This will be important later. And half-jokingly tell him that he should oversee their marriage. Or consider this verse. Later on, we'll conspire, as we dream by the fire, to face unafraid the plans that we've made, walking in a winter wonderland. With the prior context, the plans that they are conspiring about here can only be marriage. So the song isn't just about two lovebirds drinking hot cocoa and stuff, it focuses specifically on their excitement at the prospect of getting married. Hey, you know what other creepypasta and glitch-inspired optional route in an indie RPG made by the creator of Undertale, Toby Fox, also has marriage as a core element to its theming? This is a crucial element to the theory, so I really need to make sure everyone's on the same page here. If you already know what I mean when I talk about the marriage undertones in Chris and Noelle's relationship in Snowgrave, then awesome! You can skip ahead to this timestamp. If not, or if you just want to recap, let me catch you up. In the Snowgrave route, by the way, I'm gonna use the term Snowgrave route and Weird route basically interchangeably. If you didn't know, Weird route is the name that the files use when talking about the alternate route in Chapter 2, so Weird route is basically its canon name, although fans often call it Snowgrave because that's cooler. But yeah, as I was saying, in the Snowgrave route, the player and certain NPCs often force an implied marriage relationship onto Chris and Noelle, seemingly against their will. We first see this when looking at the Ferris wheel poster. Noelle wonders if Susie would want to ride with her at Hometown's festival, but you push Chris to take Susie's place in that daydream. In this scene, Noelle clearly begins by associating the Ferris wheel with romance. She daydreams about riding with her crush Susie. After Chris offers to ride with her though, we can see the way Noelle switches the Ferris wheel in her mind from one representing romance to one about pranks and nostalgia. She obviously doesn't want to think about Chris romantically, but you weren't offering. Noelle will ride with me. This line, especially regarding the context and the way that you completely push Susie out of the conversation, reads like a possessive romantic partner. And things only get better from here. Right next to the Ferris wheel sign is the Addison who assumes that Chris and Noelle are dating and offers them dating shoes. Noelle asserts that they aren't, although she isn't sure if they're friends either. Here you say, we're something else. Noelle realizes that there might be romantic subtext there because she thinks there's no good interpretation, meaning that we aren't close enough to be friends isn't the only interpretation. Then the Addison tries to sell them the freeze ring, and this is Noelle's reaction. Huh? A ring? Sorry, I don't think we need something like that. She sees this guy who just barely assumed that they're dating is now offering them a ring. In this moment, it can't mean anything to her besides marriage. The Addison recontextualizes its meaning to be about power, but she still struggles seeing it in that way. Then you push Noelle to get the ring. I think it's safe to say that this ring is representative of both power and marriage. On the surface, the goal is to make Noelle stronger, but beyond that, the scene was clearly made to read as being uncomfortably and aggressively romantic. There's no reason to write Noelle into Addison's dialogue in this way if that wasn't the intention. There's more I could talk about here, like Noelle's repeated use of the word we when talking about money, which is very marriage-coded, or her thinking about Susie buying her a ring if you abort the route here, but I think you get the point. Also, I only just learned about this today, but apparently if you take Noelle's default ring, the snow ring, which you can only do after at least starting the Snowgrave route, and you give it to Rousey, he says, "Are you proposing?" Rousey's feelings for the player is a whole nother topic that I'm not going to get into, but there you go. In Deltarune, rings equal marriage. So finally, we get to the Spamton fight at the end of Snowgrave. First are these lines, which I'm gonna skip over because it relies on filling in some gaps to make my point, but you can pause here if you care to read my thoughts. Then, after calling Noelle Chris's side chick, Spamton says,
"Don't blame me when you're crying in a broken home, wishing you'd let your old pal Spamton kill you."
This broken home could be referring to two different things. Chris and Noelle's weird marriage-core relationship, or Chris's personal home life with divorced parents and their brother at college. Don't get me wrong, I think that we as the audience are meant to interpret it as both, but in universe, Spamton just met Chris. Unlike Noelle, they weren't responding to Spamton's emails, so he would have no way of knowing about their family. Considering that Spamton is talking directly to Chris here, he really must be referring to their relationship with Noelle. Oh, and one more thing. How about the wedding ring from the Spamton sweepstakes, with text that says,
"Like all of my commemorative rings, just slap it on any Pochi Mama, and they will be yours."
All that's to say, Deltarune is actively likening Chris and Noelle's relationship to an abusive marriage in the Weird Route. It may not be outright stated, but it's undeniable. And I think this is a great creative choice. It adds an extra layer of discomfort to the Weird Route and explores Deltarune's theme of control through a different kind of relationship than we've seen before. Even beyond that, it delves even deeper into the horror that is the player's control over Chris. In a game where you have the option to pursue romance with certain characters, what would happen if the MC was forced into a relationship they didn't want? This is something we see even in the normal route, where you can flirt with Rousey, the goat boy with a striking resemblance to Chris's brother. But I guess this just leaves me to wonder, why marriage specifically? You don't need a wedding to make a romantic relationship abusive. And why is Noelle's romance route contained entirely within Snowgrave, while Rousey's isn't? Well, bear with me here, but I think it's because this creative choice was inspired by Winter Wonderland and its marriage theming. The marriage stuff is relegated to the Weird Route because the Weird Route is a section of Deltarune that pulls from the song. Okay, so let's take one more look at this verse with the added context of Snowgrave. In the meadow we can build a snowman, then pretend that he is Parson Brown. Here the couple has this inanimate object, the snowman, and is pretending that it has a name, Parson Brown, and that it can talk to them. So the snowman is basically a darkener. Moving along, he'll say, "Are you married?" We'll say, "No, man. But you can do the job when you're in town." It's not one-to-one, I know, but like, you see the vision, right? While we're on this verse, do you remember the thing about parsons being a member of the clergy? It's easy to forget, but marriage is often associated with religion. I'm not at all knowledgeable on the subject, but getting married in the church by a member of the clergy is common practice in Christianity. Watch Black Chestnut's Angel's Heaven theory if you don't already know what Christianity has to do with Deltarune, but basically, Noelle, white robe, thorn ring, crown of thorns, crucifixion, Jesus, Angel's Heaven. I have no doubt that the marriage subtext was included in Snowgrave partially because of the religious association. Whether or not that idea came about from the parson line is up for debate, but it helped me make the connection at least. I wouldn't be surprised if the same was true for Toby. Finally, I think it's about time we re-examine my silver bullet. Gone away is the bluebird. Bluebirds migrate in the winter, and the word blue can mean sad, so in the song it's just a whimsical way of saying that it's winter and everyone's happy. In Deltarune, though, it means,
"Damn, that bird today."
I wouldn't be making this video if either Berdly wasn't a bluebird or he survived in both routes, but he is and he didn't. I mean, why is he a bluebird anyway? The other characters' species pretty much always make sense for their story or character. Noelle is a reindeer because Christmas. Chris is a human because it makes him an outcast who doesn't have many friends as a result. Susie is a whatever she is because it means she's big and scary, a big part of her character and the starting point of her character arc. Rousey and the Dreamer family are goats because religious symbolism. So, why is Berdly a bird? Is it because bird rhymes with nerd? That's really all I can think of character-wise. But then, why not choose a smarter bird, like a crow or a parrot? It's so that he can match with Winter Wonderland. I mean, What a fun way of creating dark Christmas imagery, right? Yeah, the bluebird sure has gone away. The epitome of Christmas herself killed him. I love it. But if Berdly is a bluebird, there's one other character we need to figure out. Gone away is the bluebird, here to stay is a new bird. He sings a love song as we go along, walking in a winter wonderland. A new bird, you say? Does this imply that some new bird character will appear in future chapters? Well, not quite. I think this verse is actually referring to Spamton. Spamton has a surprising amount of bird traits with his beak-like nose, small stature, wings in his neo form, and ability to lay eggs. He also has many similarities to Berdly specifically, such as his over-reliance on someone else to be successful. Shout out to Stuffed Alpaca and her Berdly analysis video where I first learned about these connections. But yeah, Spamton's like a weird bird. He also pushes Chris and Noelle forward throughout the Snowgrave route, even giving them one of the rings, which I would interpret as him singing a love song as they go along. He also gains his power after Berdly dies, which mirrors one bird replacing the other in the song. So yeah, I think it's very likely that Spamton is the new bird in Winter Wonderland. Now that I've gone through my biggest points, let's sweep through any extra minor evidence I have by going through my song lyric annotations. The highlighted text shows how related each word or phrase is to Deltarune or this theory. Here's a color key, but really all you need to know is that anything that isn't blue might be related to this theory. First is this whole verse right here. I mentioned that it's about marriage, but the way it's worded is just kind of weird. Conspire isn't the word I would use to describe planning a wedding. This combined with the semi-ominous wording of facing unafraid the plans that we've made, makes me wonder if creepypastifying this song in his head is how Toby Fox thought to integrate it into Snowgrave in the first place. I wouldn't bet on it, but this is the friend inside me guy we're talking about here, so who knows. This same verse also talks about dreaming by the fire. The words dream, play, and pretend are all mentioned in the song to illustrate how energetic and happy the soon-to-be married couple is. But these words are also very relevant to the whole premise of Deltarune, jumping into dreamlike worlds where everything comes to life like playing pretend. The story has strong themes of escapism and was even created because of the dream Toby Fox had in 2011. Finally is the word ring from the very first line of the song. This word is heavily emphasized in the music because it's the first note of the first measure of the song. The words before it are pickup notes, and it's held for longer than the notes that surround it. Turns out this word is pretty important to Deltarune as well. Here's a mini theory for you. The word ring is related to all of the most important video game secret-related characters. Noelle uses the Snow Ring, Freeze Ring, and Thorn Ring as her weapons in the Dark World. Gaster is closely associated with phones. You get the garbage noise when using the phone in the Dark World, and Spamton only spoke to Gaster through the phone. These phones would presumably ring before being answered. In fact, you hear a little ringing sound before getting the garbage noise. Finally, he pulls the strings and makes them ring. The he here, likely referring to Gaster, is a piece of flavored text from Spamton's fight and is also found in the background of Big Shot. It's easy to connect these strings to Spamton's puppet strings, but strings that you pull to make them ring, these are guitar strings. And who is the character with no known appearance other than the red guitar? There's even unused dialogue for if you give Spamton's gift, the puppet scarf, to Noelle. Feels like guitar strings. Noelle uses rings, Gaster is on the ringing phone, Dessa's guitar rings out, and Spamton is the one connecting them all. What does this mean? Who knows, but yeah, the word ring, which also appears in hit Christmas song Winter Wonderland, seems kind of important. And that's all my evidence. Oh my god. So, in a nutshell, Deltarune's weird route takes inspiration from Winter Wonderland, which we can see in its Christmas, marriage, and even religious theming. The fact that Berdly is specifically a bluebird, Spamton fitting nicely into the idea of the new bird, ideas of dreaming and playing pretend, and the word ring's prominence in both the song and Deltarune. Wait a minute. I think there's one more thing I haven't shown you yet. That's weird. Here, one sec, let me just... What? So, what does this all mean? It's time for some speculation. Well, right off the bat, I gotta say, I don't think the Weird Root will be following this song to a T. I just think that some of its elements were inspired by it. There are certainly some lines from the song that could imply future events though, so let's go through them. First is the new bird line, which I already talked about. At first I really thought it implied that there would be a new bird character in future chapters, possibly Berdly's parents, who would show up in Hometown after he dies. But with Spamton fitting the role so well, I don't think we can still use this line as evidence for that theory. If a new bird does show up later in the Weird Route, I think it'll probably be a coincidence, but we'll just have to wait and see. Next up, in the meadow we can build a snowman and pretend that he's a circus clown. We'll have lots of fun with Mr. Snowman until the other kitties knock him down. Circus clown sounds awfully familiar. Does this mean that Jevil will have some part to play in the weird route? Maybe the other kitties knocking him down implies another boss fight with him? But I'm not so sure about this theory either. First off, and this doesn't destroy the theory on its own, but this section of the song actually isn't in the original. It's from the 1974 version, which changed the lyrics from a love song to a general having fun in the snow type of song for kids. Later versions mesh these two together, but you may notice that the majority of the Deltarune related stuff comes from the original. It isn't out of the realm of possibilities that Toby may have heard this version and taken inspiration from the Circus Clown line, though. It's just that I can't really imagine Jevil coming back after saying he's going to sleep for the other 100 years. And what if you don't fight him in Chapter 1 before doing Snowgrave? He'd still be locked up somewhere, right? I mean, we don't see him in Castletown in either case. I don't know. Maybe I just lack imagination. Let me know what you think of the possibility in the comments. So what do I think will happen, you may be wondering? Well, I think there's a piece of this song we've all been overlooking. The Winter Wonderland itself. I believe that Noel will create a dark world, and it will not only be the Angel's Heaven, but the Winter Wonderland as well. Think about it. Noel has angel foreshadowing up the wazoo, especially in the Snowgrave route, where the Addison and Spamton both straight up call her Angel. According to the prophecy, there will be an Angel's Heaven that the Delta warriors have to banish. What have the Fun Gang been doing to further the prophecy this whole time? Sealing fountains. So the Angel's Heaven will be a dark world created by the angel, Noel, that the Fun Gang must seal to banish it. After being forced to become stronger, after being enveloped by the cold, what would Noel's dark world look like? What would her power create? What is her heaven? When it snows, me and my sister and everyone have a contest to make the biggest snow angel of all. I wish it could snow whenever I wanted. In the normal route, Noel's dark world will be like ones we've already seen, taking from the surroundings to construct its world. It will probably be more Christmassy than the other dark worlds, and it might be more indulgent for Noel. It's her heaven after all. But in the weird route, her heaven is a frozen one. What would have been darkeners have already become statues. The ground is covered in snow, and more softly falls above you. It's cold, but this is no Christmas. It's all white. It's quiet here. It's peaceful. It's a winter wonderland. So that's the theory. Noel's dark world is the angel's heaven is a winter wonderland. How likely is it, you may be asking? Well, I guess we'll have to wait and see. I think that at the very least, the phrase winter wonderland will probably be said or heavily implied by someone at some point, right? Man, could you imagine if some of the melody showed up in the Weird Root final boss? I can dream. But yeah, please let me know your thoughts. I'll read every comment and possibly respond to them all too. And if you're ever in need of a brand new blind Undertale playthrough, check out Choco Doom, where I force my friend to play some of my favorite games for the first time. Also, I have an Instagram where I draw at OCs and art school stuff, so there's that. Plus, here's my Sigma Epic Poggers loaded with the sauce Deltarune Theory bingo card. That's so Sigma! Thanks for watching, goodbye!